Hi, I'm Peggy with Headshots by Peggy, and today we have Meosha Bean with us. So if some of you remember, Meosha was on with me. You were one of my first guests ever. I hadn't really started having guests, and you were one, and we giggled the entire hour.
We did.
We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun.
That was exciting.
So you and I talk a lot. Meosha's a personal friend. She's not just somebody in the industry. She's super cool. You're an amazing director and filmmaker.
Thank you.
Oh, that's great. Cinematographer.
Yes.
There we go. But seriously, you're very talented.
Thank you.
And you're a woman.
Yes.
And I know you do a show that is basically women in the industry, and you talk about stuff.
Yeah.
So this time on the vlog, I wanted to really address the women in the industry, but while doing that, I think the men should listen, because I think there's sometimes men do things that they don't realize how uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, not every man in the industry is a dog or a scumbag. They're really not. There's a lot of amazing, great men. And sometimes even amazing, great men do really dumb things.
Unfortunately.
I mean, women do dumb things too. I'm not here bashing men. Like, that, not at all.
We love you guys.
Yeah, but seriously, I mean, there's some things, especially, we're kind of moving into a new era now where people are expected to be treated with respect and like humans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't matter what their gender is, what the color of their skin is, what their sexuality is. Humans are humans, and we expect to be treated with respect. So you and I both, you're much you than me, but you've been doing this for a while. You've been seriously pursuing filmmaking for several years.
I have.
How long have you went to college for film?
Film school, back in Florida. That was so long ago. I don't want to reveal my age. But years ago.
3 years ago.
Over
No.
10 years ago. Yikes. Yeah, but I went to Full Sail University, and then after that, I actually went to do acting. Went to acting and modeling school for a bit, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
Definitely not my avenue. I mean, it's fun. I don't mind acting, but it's not like, ooh, I want to get an Oscar one day. You know, it's definitely not that for me. But I find it very interesting. And then I think I have a better feel of how to work with actors because I've been on that side too, and I understand how it's hard.
I think everybody should do everything because they have not that you're going to be talented or good at everything, but you have a respect for everything.
Yes.
And you understand, oh, why is the camera person, it's like, oh, I get it. They need that, it's
right.
There's a lot of things that if you've never experienced it, you don't fully understand.
Absolutely.
So we were at lunch last week.
Yes.
This is what started this conversation. And you told us a story. We're not going to mention names.
Nope.
But it was somebody very, very well known. Like if we said the name, you would know who it was.
Right.
And somebody called you and just you tell the story. I'll be quiet.
Yeah, and it was like a very uncomfortable situation. It was like, hey, we want your expertise on this set, but it just didn't feel like they've even said, basically like it's not maybe it's got to be careful kind of situation. And I was just like, is there anybody else going to be there? Like, it's just me? Oh, just you show up with your camera equipment, you shoot the scene, spend a few hours with this actor. I'm like, I didn't really feel comfortable. I mean, I'd rather have like a team of people or someone that is with me that I can, I trust and so it's not weird or awkward because it's a lot of those situations. And I think I understand, maybe they didn't think it was anything, because Meosha does it. She's a filmmaker. It's not going to be anything. But the fact that they were like, so by the way, be careful. I'm like,
yeah, he's known to be violent to women.
I'm like, oh,
it's like,
I don't think I want to take this job, so I passed it up.
Yeah, and I know for me, and everybody has to find their line.
Absolutely.
What is that line that you're not willing to allow anyone to cross, and you need to stay with that. But I'm a big follow your gut. If you have like a weird feeling about it, no amount of money is worth your safety.
None at all.
And this probably would have been a decent job,
It's
but
a great pay.
yeah. But you're here and alive and not in the hospital or having a terrible story. So I would rather and
much better situation. Right
yeah.
now.
And the other thing I see a lot, even with my clients, a lot of my young actresses that come in for headshots, they start, you know how it is. It's like the barbershop, the hairdresser, and the portrait studio. People talk. It's a real intimate situation in the fact that, people normally open up to me because I give them that environment because I need to pull out their emotions and I need to see who they are. Right. So when you're in my studio, usually without even realizing, because usually when the session's over, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I told you that.
Like, oh my God.
But one of the things that I do get is a lot of primarily women and sometimes men, even men, are really naive about things.
Really? Men too?
Men too.
Interesting.
Yeah. And my dad, I'll tell you a story.
Okay.
My dad owned a body shop. We grew up in the Midwest, and this was back in the 60s and 70s. And back when body work was body work, like you didn't just go buy another plastic fender and put it on, but you actually fixed it. Wow. And he did custom paint jobs by hand. He airbrushed.
That's amazing.
And so he had tons of trophies of show cars, and so his shop was kind of a cool guy hangout, So there were, the kind of posters that you would expect in a body shop up, and here he has 3 daughters.
Oh my God.
And I said all this to say, the one thing my dad always said is, Peggy, don't be naive. You're not special. If a guy says something to you, you need to know he said it to 12 other women before you. Don't be the one that falls for it.
Wow.
And I know that sounds harsh,
That's true.
but it's really true. And that's, a lot of times as women, especially, we're working hard, we're tired, we want to feel pretty, we want to feel appreciated. And somebody starts, oh my God, you're the best model I've ever seen. Let me come and let me take your pictures and I'll let you have them for free. And you let me, and you just go off with a complete stranger in a creepy situation where it's just you and this photographer. And, I've heard over the years so many terrible, terrible stories. Clear to, like I had a friend whose daughter was actually involved in human trafficking. They literally kidnapped her for, 4 days, drugged her, and, and she answered a call on Craigslist for modeling. So this is firsthand. This is somebody I actually know's daughter. This was in San Diego.
Oh my God.
And so that's, I think we need to be aware of, and this happens to men too. Men want to, they want to succeed, and it's been on the news in the last year. Things that, so, as harsh as it may seem, always think, whatever they're saying to you, they've said to other people before. Absolutely. You. Don't be the one to fall for it. Be confident in who you are. Mm-hmm. Be confident in your skills, and be confident that you can get another job.
Absolutely.
If you don't feel comfortable about this job, walk away from it. And that's what you did, and I'm so proud of you, because I know that's a lot of money, and I know that, it's tough when
when you're doing it by yourself too, when you're not depending upon a man to take care of you, know, and when you're a woman and you're doing this in this business and you're really trying to really do,
or you're just a single income household, whatever, woman, and nobody's contributing.
Nobody.
It's you.
Absolutely.
And we all know if you're in the industry, and this is all you do. You don't wait tables. This is what you do.
Yeah.
And we all know that we get paid when we get paid, and so it's so hard to see this great money job.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh no, I could really use that money, but and so I think so.
How do you?
Yeah.
I feel like you said, it's being confident in who you are and your skill set and whatever it is that you're doing. But specifically in this industry, I believe that you have to, know it's okay to say no to certain jobs, because when one door closes, there's always another one that opens. And I always think about that. Maybe not when you want it to open, but it does open. But yeah, I feel like that's kind of something that helps me to, and I have to constantly remind myself, okay, well, okay, is this job going to actually change my life, or is it? I mean, can I live without it? And so I felt like at the time I was like, you know what, it's a big name, it's be great for my reel, but no, I'll wait because I think there's other better situations I can accept and that are going to be more safe, and I'm going to be more happy to take, and much more, maybe more money, I think.
Right. And the other thing is, if you're put in a situation like that, bring somebody with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a situation once, and they wanted me to do, they called and asked me, would you do this, and I was like, at my studio, and they're like, no, we want you to come to our house, and I was like,
yikes.
And it was really good money. Oh. And so I said, I'll do it, but I'm bringing my assistant with me. So I literally called my friend who was a stay-at-home mom, and I was like, find a babysitter. Like, you're coming with me. And she sat on the couch while I shot. But never ever ever feel like, if you feel like, oh, I don't want to pass this up, and then bring somebody with you. And if the person says, oh no, you have to come alone,
right.
Big red flag.
Absolutely.
Don't ever, because there's no reason that you would ever have to go to a job alone.
No.
Ever. There's no reason ever that you would have to go. There's no confidentiality. There's nothing that they can say that makes you have to go alone.
Absolutely.
When it's just you and one other person there. So
don't do it.
No.
Don't do it.
No, there's no reason to.
Not at all.
So what else do you want to talk about? I really felt it was important to talk about, listen, girls and men, everyone, don't be naive, be safe. And respect yourself. Know that you are the master of your craft. And if you're not, then keep working on it and become the master of your craft, and be confident in where you're at, the stage you're at right now.
That's a good one. Being comfortable where the stage you are right now, because I think some people kind of get a little ahead of themselves. They'll get all the equipment or whatever it is. But specifically this one person, I know this guy, and he was like, I got everything. He's like, but why can I not shoot the way you shot on this? And I'm like, well, you have to know like the settings and inside and outs, and it's not just getting a camera and just shooting or whatever. It's kind of an industry joke with anybody that does film or camera, because when you see these young people with thousands and thousands of dollars worth of top-notch equipment, and you're like, oh, that's their hobby. Because when it's your bread and butter, you buy what you need, and you work with what you have, and not always the biggest and baddest is necessarily what you need. True.
And so it's always a joke. It's like, oh, look at that. Isn't that cute?
Oh,
isn't that cute? And I've even been at events where these young kids will come up and they'll like, look at my, and I'm like, are you shooting a sports event? Like, what are you doing? Like, we're 3 foot from our client. What are you doing with this $5,000 lens?
I know, it's crazy.
And they're like, well, it's the best lens. I'm like, it's the best lens for a specific job. So you got to know.
Yeah.
You got to know what's the best for your job, and
You have to know.
and that's funny.
That is funny, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny.
But
So
I like what you said though about being comfortable where you are, because sometimes I think we can I don't know, get ahead of ourselves and things, and it's a process, starting. I mean, I wasn't, it's funny because I had an actor friend, she was talking to me about like, I'm getting hired, but I'm not getting paid, and I have an agent. What's up with that? I'm like, yeah, it's a process. You have to, eventually the paid gigs will come, but I think,
you've got to get the experience. You've got to get the experience.
You do, because you just can't show up on set and they're like, they'll say something and you're like, wait, what is that?
What is that? What do you mean?
Your mark? Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah. And the first time I did set behind the scenes work, I did it for free.
Really?
Because I was like, somebody had asked me to do it, and they offered me some really good money.
Nice.
And I was like, yes. And then I called every filmmaker that I knew, and I'm like, are you doing any projects? Do you need some behind the scenes? And I went and did a couple of jobs for free.
Nice.
Because that way I was ready to know, because if I would have shown up and accepted, I would have felt terribly guilty, because, just the little simple things that you need to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not like it's rocket science, but still, the experiences.
They're great.
Yeah. So when did you get interested in filmmaking?
Ooh, I've always been interested.
Always?
In it. Yeah, I have like VHS tapes. We're talking years ago, guys. So that tells you I'm a little old. No, just kidding. No, but VHS tapes of me like, I like filming, and my mom's like, you could never put the camera down. Like you have an interest with this thing, and your father and I knew that that you've always wanted to do this. And I remember like I was like 13. I was like, guys, I'm gonna be a filmmaker. Yeah. They're like, okay, Meosha.
That's cute.
That's cute.
That's
but whatever,
cute.
we'll entertain whatever this fantasy is that you have. But yeah, I'm happy I stuck with it, and I think it's just like, if you love something, then why?
Just like me, I got my first camera when I was 9, and I drove everyone insane. I started posing people. Like that's the kind of, I always wanted to do people. I always wanted to, photograph people. So it's like I've been a professional at this for 30 years, but I've had a camera in my hand for, another 10, 15 years before that. So, but I remember, like, recently I found some pictures. Actually, a friend of mine from college moved from Detroit to San Diego, and when he was moving, found all these pictures. And I used to be in a band, but I know a rare fact no one knows about, Peggy.
I just learned this guy's on camera today. Are you serious?
Yes, I was a drummer for years.
What?
Rock and roll.
How cool.
Anyway, so, I did, because I was in, I had a lot of friends who were musicians, and I did lots of bands and even some album covers, and it was called album covers back then. They were these, no. Anyway. I did the album for his band, and he was like, Peggy, do you remember these? And I was like, oh my God, I thought I was so good, and these are horrible.
I love
But I just thought how fun it was, because to remember, like, every step, and even when I first started doing headshots, I did families and babies. So when I first started specializing in headshots, there's some really crappy stuff out there, And it's not that they're bad pictures, they're just not effective headshots.
Right.
It's a learning process.
Right. But you can see the growth.
Yeah, and you can see the growth. So don't be mad at the growth. Like, embrace it. Like, I have young photographers that Instagram me all the time. They're like, look at my stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. But I try to give them pointers, because if it weren't for people mentoring me, I would never be there. But love the process.
Yes.
I mean, just like, any of you that are parents, when a baby crawls, you're like, oh my God, that's so, when the baby walks, like, oh my God. And then when they first go to school, it's like, yay. And then when they go to high school, you're like, are they about gone? No, I'm kidding. But, it's the process, and you have to enjoy every, and even though, it was, rocky and stuff, it was still, it's what you had to do to get to be better,
Absolutely. There we go.
And you should love it and embrace it, because it's like, you're not always going to be there.
There we go.
You're not always going to be at this level. Now, there are people that just stay. There are people that are like, hey, I'm the best, and I don't want to learn, and don't you dare tell me, and they don't want to take instruction, and they don't want to grow, and you can't do anything about that.
You can't do anything about that.
But good people that are successful will tell you that they had to grow, and they made mistakes, and, and I'm sure they laugh at their old work. And
I have some stuff out there, too.
That you're like, wow, thank you, YouTube.
Thank you, YouTube, right. And then I did specifically remember deleting it.
And it's still there.
And someone re-uploaded it.
Re-uploaded it because that is the love with where we live now. See, before the internet, children, you could delete things and no one could find them. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Because once you upload it, you don't know who downloaded it.
Ay.
So, but enjoy it. Like, I mean, look at it and laugh and impose it like this was my first video.
I'm like commenting on every old video.
Right.
This is my first. Yeah, my first. Please.
Wow, look how much better I am now.
Link to the new stuff.
Link to the new stuff. But no, I feel like that. I had somebody that posted headshots that I had taken 3 years ago, and they just like
Wow.
flash back or something, and they're like, headshots by Peggy Warny, and I was like, oh, I wish they hadn't. And I'm the one that's like, if I take your pictures, you better credit me, and I'm like, oh my god.
Don't credit me, please. No, that's hilarious.
They weren't horrible, but
I love seeing
but
that.
my style, I know my style has changed so much in 3
Nice.
years.
Nice.
That it was hilarious to see that. And it popped up on Instagram because they had tagged me, and I was like, oh, yay.
Yay! Oh my god, no. That's so cute. I love to see
So,
those. I'm sure
yeah.
they're amazing.
Yeah,
You're amazing. Oh my
right.
gosh. You're
But,
amazing.
well, thank you. I didn't even pay her.
She's amazing, guys.
But speaking of amazing, if you need films, commercials, music videos,
Oh.
industrials,
Thanks.
this is. And if you just need somebody to go hang out with. No.
She's trying to hook me up like
I'm teasing. But no.
guys. I'm just kidding.
So, but no, that's really true. Embrace where you're at. Be safe. Don't be naive.
Yeah.
And don't think that if you pass a job up, I think it was Denzel Washington that said once he was offered a lot of money, like a lot of money. And it was when his career was just taking off. And you're going to have to Google this and fact check me because I don't remember. I just thought of the story right now. But he was offered like lots and lots of money, but it had a sex scene in it. And he's like, that's the line he's always said he won't do. And he never has.
Wow.
And so he turned it down. And in this interview, he was like, we didn't have rent money.
He's like,
And this would have covered
Wow.
stuff for years. Like, it was a big, and it was just
I like
within
that.
weeks that he, another opportunity came.
See?
And, and now here he is successful for years and years and years. And he's able to say, I never let my standard down.
Right.
Everybody has to figure out what their standards are.
What that is, yeah. Their
And
limit.
yeah, and I don't think anybody has the right to judge anyone for what their limit is, but everybody should be true to their limits
Yes.
and not just like whatever it is, I work a lot of events, a lot of alcohol, and for me, if people start talking, to me, it's in one ear and out the other.
right.
It doesn't ever bother me.
Yeah.
But if anybody lays a hand on even my shoulder, it's
like-
yeah, no, that's my line. You know what I mean? Like you can talk trash. It's like I'm not going to hear anything.
Right.
But so you have to figure out what, especially as an actor, like think about because again, you do it once and it's out there forever. And then all of a sudden you're successful and somebody's going to pull that out and go, oh, look what
And
they
they're
did. You're like,
That was 10 years ago.
yeah,
You
but
know?
nobody understands.
But no one understands.
Because no one knows what it's like to, follow your dream and be hungry and,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, and we're not saying it's not tough.
It's very tough. It's very tough to follow your dreams because you just don't know. You just don't know. You're just kind of feeling it out, and you're just trying to like maneuver. Like, okay, what works, what doesn't. Okay. Then there's some successes, and then there's some failures, and there's successes, and there's like high, and then there's some lows, there's some highs. So it's all this like.
Yeah.
But then eventually, once everything starts to, you'll see like, okay, it's getting better.
I think the key is to just be grateful for every stage you're at. I do. I'm going to
love
say
that.
that again because even not just at your skill level,
Yeah.
but at your financial level, at your, if you're living in a cardboard box, be thankful that you have a cardboard box.
That's true.
If you live in a little tiny apartment and you share it with 5 other roommates, be thankful that you have a shower.
Hey.
If
Right.
you, whatever it is, because I think the more you just like,
Plain.
hey, you know what? One day this is just going to be part of my story.
That's it.
This
Literally.
isn't where I'm at. This is a story I get to go on TV and say.
Yes, exactly.
And if you kind of have that mindset at, it kind of sucks now because I've had ramen for the last 8 days.
Really?
No, I'm just saying
I love ramen.
I meant the little like not ramen, but like the 90 or the 25-cent ramen.
Be thankful
College
for this
food.
ramen.
Yeah. We used to call it college food. but it may be, but I'm raw vegan. I wouldn't eat raw.
That's right. That's right.
Ew. That's nasty.
Hilarious.
Anyway, but be thankful for what you have,
Right.
when, whatever you're at. And always, Merrick and I've had really tough times and really good times and really tough times. We'll just laugh. We'll go, this is going to be so fun to tell this story. Like, this is going to be such a cool story.
Could you imagine all the people that are successful now, even the ones like we look up to, like your Steve Harveys or whoever, like their stories of I mean, they were living in somebody, like Tyler Perry was living in his car.
Yeah.
That was such a, like, what?
Yeah.
And he's still doing shows and no one knew.
No
he
one
was
knew.
living in his car. And that is amazing because that tells me that it depends, how hungry you are for whatever you're trying to, what you're trying to achieve. Like, it doesn't matter what, if you have no money, come rain, storm, you're gonna still stay steadfast in whatever it is that you're trying to pursue.
You should love your craft more than you love the paycheck.
Yes, that's a good one. That should be like in bold letters.
Yeah. Should I run it across here?
Here, guys.
But no, because you should. If you love what you do so much
Yeah.
that you would do it whether you got paid or not, then you're going to be successful.
I like that.
But I mean, you still, disclaimer again, you still have to realize this is a business, so you have to be business smart as well, because I was guilty for years of loving what I did and not really caring about the business side of it.
Really?
I didn't get paid what I should. I mean, I'm still I want everybody to be able to afford me.
Right.
I mean, I feel like I don't want just the, whatever. I want everybody to be able, because I feel that a quality headshot really can get you in the door.
Absolutely.
And so I want those people that are really talented and really hungry and really, to be able to afford to come to me, and not just somebody that's already successful.
Right. Everyone.
I want everybody. And so, but at the same
that
time,
hard?
but I feel that I can run a business and still make money and charge what I call an honest price.
Yeah.
Because I never like to say on camera, I'm never going to charge, because you don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. But I've been in business for 30 years and I've never ever gouged prices. So I can't imagine that I would be that person. Just because I love what I do. And I would rather be busy every day than have one client a month that pays for my month.
Same. And I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that because I love what I do. And the more I do it, I know the better I get.
Exactly.
So the more medium jobs I have, the better I'm getting. So when I get that big job, I'm really confident that I am
do it.
that
I've done like a million of these
exactly.
during the week.
So, but that's just how I feel. But so you should have the passion that, hey, you're going to do it.
Right.
But at the same time, you need some business sense.
Yes.
You're self-employed. You're
have to
you.
know how much
I
money you're
am
getting.
Headshots by Peggy.
Yeah.
That's
right.
it.
Yeah.
I'm it. I mean,
Wow.
Merrick and I, bounce ideas off marketing and this and that, but bottom line, I'm the one responsible for, advertising,
Wow.
working,
It's a lot of work.
editing, everything. So yeah. And you do all of your, I mean, you have a team that works with you, but you hire them. You're still responsible for getting your team and,
That's a lot.
so yeah. So you still have to be business savvy,
Yeah.
but
I
have
didn't
the
know that
passion.
there was a business side to it until
Right?
later on. I'm like, whoa, there's
No, I was doing this for
another-
15 years before I was like, maybe I should know how to be a business person.
yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
It's so crazy.
I always thought that if I was a great photographer, people would just come pay me.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah. Right. It's crazy.
Instead, they're like, hey, Peggy. They know that you're the free photographer.
Hey, so food.
I got this. I'll let you add this to your portfolio.
Really?
That's my favorite line right now, because I'm like, do you know how big, do you know that I have so many things that I just don't take the time to pull out to show?
Wow. That
Like,
much.
well, I've 30 years,
Amazing.
I mean, and 3 years.
I think people forget
Yeah.
the work that you've done.
Yeah.
Like I think that's what happens with me is sometimes that they're like, well, because you're young, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I've been doing this, guys, for
Years.
years now. I just didn't put half of myself out there
Right.
because I don't want to, some things
Yeah.
I'm not really proud of or I can't put out because of contractual agreements or whatever. But like, I think sometimes that happens where it's like, oh, well, you can just come on set. Well, how's the $50? I'm like, guys, $50 is, I stopped that years ago. I was like,
Yeah.
that's, and I was telling a friend, my friend was like, well, how do you get to the point where you're like, okay, this is my worth and this is not my worth? I'm like, well, first of all, you have to know before you start, because if you don't, then you're going to start just taking jobs and working tirelessly for like nothing when you need certain things like equipment or whatever. And if you can't, it's not.
Michael Brueggemeyer, he was on my vlog, I don't know, a while back. But he also started doing a vlog because he realized how cool my vlog was.
She's amazing.
Anyway, but he's an Emmy award-winning director. He's a filmmaker. I love him. He's a wealth of information. But in his vlogs, he does like 3-4 minutes, and he's just like to the point, little like. But one of them that stuck, so it was just like I still like will go back and just listen to it, and I'll think about it all the time. And he talks about how to find your worth, and it was like, why didn't somebody tell me this 20 years ago? But he goes, look up how much it would cost to rent the equipment that you have.
Ooh.
The equipment that you own, if you had to go rent the exact equipment, how much would that cost?
Interesting.
Your travel time, your insurance, because we have to pay insurance. See, people don't think about, of course we have insurance.
Wow.
Of course,
That's a good way to
So
look at it.
your price of insurance, and then what is your hourly rate? What is a fair hourly rate for your time?
Right.
And all these, and I was like, oh my God, if you think about all the equipment that I bring to set and all the equipment that I tell this story, I've told this story before. It's cute because when Merrick and I first started dating, I was shopping for a tripod. And so he thought he would be a really sweet romantic boyfriend, and he went and bought me a tripod. And he's like,
oh.
And I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh, thank you. And he goes, yeah, these things are really expensive. And I was like, yeah, I bet it was like about $100, huh? And he's like, yeah. And I was like,
hilarious.
right. And so of course I couldn't use it.
Yeah.
But it was so sweet of him.
Sweet. Oh.
And so, people don't realize that a tripod is $600. They don't understand things like that.
Yes, it's ridiculous. It's
So-
ridiculous. And they think, oh, well, that's a pizza,
Yeah.
plastic. That's fine.
It's
And
what,
it'll just-
what is that, like $50? Like
Like,
what?
no.
I'll replace that for you. It's like, well,
As if I had that where somebody dropped my lens. It was an AD, my second AD. I was doing a feature, and he had grabbed my lens, and I don't know. I was like, here you go,
and it was just
boom, and he drops it. I'm just like, and it didn't work. He said, I'll replace it. He never replaced it.
Did you have insurance at that time?
I didn't.
I bet you do now.
I do now. Lesson learned, ladies and gentlemen. God.
So I had kid actors in here, right? The mom contacted me. She had 3 kids. They were adorable.
Oh.
Adorable. And we're not talking like 3 and 4. They were like 8, 10, know. And she was like, do you want me to like bring them one at a time? And I was like, no, bring them all in. We'll just like, because I'm a kid photographer. Like I've done kids for 25 years. I can surely handle 3 kids, right?
Yeah.
When the mom said, should I bring them in separately? I should have thought, oh, she may know something that I don't know.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Well, bottom line, I'm not going to tell you the whole story. Bottom line, my camera got knocked off the tripod. My very, very nice lens. I've dropped cameras on tripods, I don't know, a dozen times in my career.
Yeah.
It happens, right?
Oh my God.
It happens. And usually it dents usually when you drop it, it dents it and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
But it usually doesn't break it, and I have a filter always to protect it. So normally, if it breaks, it just breaks the filter.
Right, and
Right?
everything's okay. Yeah. Oh,
Shattered glass, shattered. I don't even know how they did it.
I've cried.
And so I'm in the middle of a session, and I'm like, and I put on. It had to have looked fake because it was literally the fakest smile I've ever smiled. I'm like, just a moment, and I like.
Oh my God.
And I got, I cleaned up the glass because I'm like thinking now they're going to sue me because they're going to cut their foot on the glass or something,
No.
So I clean up the glass and I'm literally shaking because,
I'm sure.
okay, if you're an actor and you're not a filmmaker or a photographer, you don't understand
yes.
the relationship that you have with the camera.
Yes.
It's
your partner.
It's your partner. Like when I was younger, I would sleep with my camera. I mean, you play, you touch it, you know it, you know every feel, you know everything about that camera.
Yeah.
And they just hurt my baby.
Oh.
And so I'm like,
Oh my God, I could only imagine.
So luckily, I'm at the point in my career when I have backup cameras and I have backup lenses, and so I just kind of set it down, and I couldn't even take the lens off. I didn't want to know if my camera was broke. I just set it aside, and I got my backup camera, and and we finished the session. I did.
Oh my God, you finished
I did.
Amazing. I don't think I would have went on. I would have I'm sorry.
And they left, and I literally sat in the middle of the studio and cried because and I have insurance. It was not a financial setback at all. It was my baby.
Probably your favorite lens, huh?
It was.
Oh,
of course it was,
that.
because that's the one I use all the time. But it was pretty funny.
Me too. That's what happened when he dropped it, and I put it back.
You're like,
I put it back. I was freaking out on set, and everybody's a lot of people, and I put it back on. I'm like, but then I was filming, and I was I noticed something different. I was like, oh no. Yeah. And then I got really upset, and he was just like, Meosha. I was like, I'm sorry. Please don't talk to me for the rest of the day. We're finished doing this film. I'm gonna really snap, and I don't snap at people, but that was really tough.
Yeah, because they don't understand. And I know you may think it's silly, and that's fine. You can think it's silly, because I've met women that love their purses and love their shoes. Yes. So we think you're stupid. It's okay. But yeah, it was it's that feeling of almost your dog got hurt. You're gonna have to take him to the vet.
Yes, literally that feeling.
It's
yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty funny. But
needless to say, I never let anybody hold it.
And so those are the things that a lot of people don't understand. So when you're a filmmaker, whether you're an actor, filmmaker, when you have an understanding and a respect for the stuff going on, you'll treat the set different. Yeah. Just the whole entire set.
Absolutely. Because
you realize, wow, that camera person is here because they love this and they want this. They want me to look good because they want this project to succeed.
Absolutely.
And as an actor, you should I want to work with this person and that person and cooperate because I want this. I love what I do and I want it to be successful because I want to show it off. And so it's great. And that's the difference between loving what you do and just wanting to be famous or wanting a paycheck.
That's the problem too, that I've run into. A lot of people say, well, you can tell when someone's hungry and they love it, it's a passion for it, versus there's the ones that are I just want to be seen, and I don't like that, because that attitude going into it, it's you're setting yourself up for failure, because it's you don't really have a grasp on reality of these people are here because they worked really hard
to get there.
No one it doesn't just land in your lap. I sadly, I hate to say it, I met a lot of people when I first moved here that are gone, and they left because they're this is too hard.
Yeah.
I'm well, maybe you just didn't really want it in the first place, or it's gotten too hard, and they were well, screw it, I'm done. If I can't get a job now or whatever.
Yeah. How many times have you quit, even if it was for 5 minutes?
A lot of times. Seriously, a lot. But then you realize I can't see myself doing anything else. Right?
When the economy crashed,
Yeah. Oh.
that was the toughest time for me because everybody got a camera in their cell phone. People stopped taking family portraits. Grandma stopped putting pictures on her wall.
Wow.
Because Facebook was the mode of transporting pictures.
Yeah, it really was at the time.
And, people stopped printing. People stopped, it used to be you get dressed up. It was a big deal. When you were a kid, I'm sure your mom made you get dressed up and go take family portraits.
Yeah.
But, that day and age is over because a friend has a camera, or we'll just do a selfie, or we'll set it on a timer or whatever,
Yeah, it's different.
And we'll just have the neighbor, hold the camera for us. And, so that all went away. And I, was a very successful photographer in the 90s and 2000s. And then all of a sudden, almost overnight,
It was changed.
nobody had the money, and this was an extra, and everybody had a cell phone or a DSLR, because they all of a sudden became, you could go get, a cheap Canon for $500. So everybody had a camera, and it was like, oh my God, like the only thing I've ever done my whole life and it's over.
It's over. Wow.
And so I took classes and I became a property manager, and I was like, this sucks. And it was a flexible hour thing, which worked for, because I've never, can you imagine me in a 9 to 5?
I cannot picture that.
Yeah, me either.
It's wild.
Well, I've never done it.
Oh, okay, good. I couldn't.
So it would be crazy. Yeah,
Wow.
it's like,
I did it one time. And
yeah. I mean, sometimes we're up at 5 a.m. on set, and sometimes we sleep till noon. It's like,
it's great. It's a great life, I must say.
But yeah, so it was a flexible thing. As long as I got my job done,
Yeah.
nobody was like breathing down my throat. I was still kind of really independent, but I was like, what's my purpose? Like,
Yeah, what's
why?
going on?
Like, I'm working for someone else, and I'm getting very little money, and I'm taking rent. I know somebody's banking here, and it's not me.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, how can I make this work?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it didn't take me very long to figure out that
How to-
real estate agents need headshots, and kind of like,
That's actually really good.
yeah.
that's
I
really
was like,
good.
no, I'm not gonna. I can't quit, because
I love that.
I didn't. So I just kind of changed,
that.
And I still do babies and families. Now it's just that little silly thing I do once in a while for fun.
For fun.
Yeah. But I'm still really good at it. I had a baby in the studio, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, and I was like,
Aw.
this is fun. I'm so glad I don't do this every day anymore.
I like screw babies.
I'm like,
we love
oh my God, this was really glad. I'm so glad you brought your baby in. Go ahead.
Take him back. All right, here's your baby.
But
Oh,
no, the
man.
things we do.
Ah.
But yeah, but I love every aspect of it.
And you get to meet cool people like her.
I get to meet so many people because of my camera. How many cool people have you met just because of your camera?
So many.
It's probably you can't even number.
I can't.
What is the most, what opportunity, just because of your camera, you walked in and you were like, in the back of your head, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Like, what was that moment?
Ooh, that's a few moments actually. Billy Idol for one was definitely one of mine.
You did a video for
Yeah,
Billy Idol.
that was like,
It's kind of cool.
like,
Am I doing this?
am I really here right now? This is insane. And then he's like, hi. I'm like, oh my God. Billy. I freaking love him, man. He's so cool. Like, sometimes I don't, in that moment, because I'm going.
You don't realize it, and then when you're editing, or when all your
Yes.
friends are like, what?
Yeah, and I'm like,
why didn't you call me? And you're like,
I was working.
I was working.
Yeah.
Why would I call you?
Yeah. And it's like, oh, right. And I love those moments where you're by yourself and you're like, oh my God, I actually had those moments of like, this actually happened. And I'm like, oh my God, this shows me that it is happening. Things are going, they're okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's cool.
like I did that.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. Like,
I'm this little kid from the Midwest, like little
Yeah,
tiny
right?
town, and all of a sudden I'm like, in all these crazy.
situations and meeting people,
Yeah.
rubbing shoulders. You're
Yeah.
like, it's really bizarre.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre
Yeah.
sometimes, but I'm very grateful for the journey and the experience.
Yeah.
It's fun.
That's fun.
It's really fun. Yeah. Denzel Washington was a really cool one. He was in, where was he? Somewhere eating, and I saw him. And living in LA, you could see all the celebrities just walking around. But it's just kind of cool, like when you're like, oh my God, he's like right there. Like, oh my God, adopt me, please. No, I'm kidding. No, he it was just so cool. Like it's just Michelle Rodriguez was really cool too. She was she's so powerful and strong and confident woman, and I like that. We had a really cool conversation, and she's just really cool and really.
I think that's what I find is probably 98% of the like really big names are just phenomenally cool.
Just great. Yeah. They're people.
Yeah. So, no offense to any New Kids on the Block fans. I just wasn't a fan, okay?
Really?
No, it's a boys band. Yeah. I was like a musician. It was a different thing in the 80s. I'm sorry. I'm going to get hate. Now, nobody comments. Now they're going to be like, I can't believe she said this. So, when they got their star on the Walk of Fame.
Yeah.
I was the only photographer that was in the green room with them. I actually was in their hotel, the party the night before, the green room, and I was the only photographer that was allowed behind the red cord.
Oh.
Okay.
Fun.
So this is what's funny, okay? All the press were out here, and I was back here. My friend from Kansas. Is a big New Kids on the Block fan.
Oh, yeah.
And she's a member of the Chamber of Commerce. Well, the Walk of Fame thing is with the Chamber of Commerce. I don't know, right? But she's watching this live feed, her and her friend, and following Twitter. And apparently for like 20 minutes, I was all over Twitter.
Wow.
Who is this photographer? We've never seen her before. Who is this? Who is this? And they were like mad. Press was, everyone was mad. And so my friend Kim sees me walk, and she's like, oh my God. So she's like texting me. And I had, when it was over and we went to the after party, I went to the bathroom because I'm human. And so that's, of course, when you're a photographer, that's when you get to check the phone, is when you're like, okay. And I go to the bathroom and my phone rings, and I'm like, Kim Shafley, like, what the heck?
What she want? Yeah.
And I'm like, hello? She's like, are you in Hollywood right now? And I was like,
how do you
yeah.
Where are you?
She's like, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, it's New Kids on the Block.
Like who's checking for those guys? Hilarious.
So that was the funniest thing. That's because cute. It wasn't. However, I will say Donnie Wahlberg, I was so impressed with. He walked past. The second after we were introduced, he's like, I'm sorry, what was your name? And I said, it's fine, I'm just a photographer. And he goes, no, what's your name? And I said, I'm Peggy. And he shook my hand, and he called me Peggy all day.
That's sweet.
And he came up to me at the end and shook my hand and said, thank you, Peggy, for taking, for covering this event for us.
That's beautiful.
And I thought, it's those kind, and so now I'm talking to you actors. And, it's those kind of things that matter, because he realized that I wasn't there by chance,
right,
and and so it's the people that come in all snotty, and which the majority of successful actors are not.
Yeah,
they're really not. They're really like, I always walk away going, wow, they were really cool. That was a great little interaction. But the majority of people worked for it, and they know you're working for it. So, and if you're nice and kind, a lot of times they, one actor will definitely help a younger actor, and if they're, in the area, if you're on set with them or whatever, but not if you're a jerk.
Nope. Gotta be a nice person.
Be a nice person.
Be nice. Be kind.
I think being nice and being kind is like probably.
That's good.
So, what's your goal for 2019?
Ooh. Take over the world. That's such a funny answer.
We're not supposed to tell our secret plans to the world. I'm talking about your personal stuff.
Definitely as far as like film go, or just life in general.
What's just one thing you want to share with the world because you know how popular my vlog is.
Yeah, you're popping. Just popping. Hot. I would say just to embrace things that I'm not comfortable with, as far as like work-wise, things that I've never really tapped into, that I was afraid to do. So I definitely want to take more time to get into those uncomfortable moments because I think that's growth.
I think uncomfortable moments are the best, and failure is the best.
Yeah.
Because if you always succeed, it means you're not growing.
At all. At all. What about you?
I have already started, and I feel like I'm a fairly grateful person, but I feel like I want to embrace more of, I'm very, very focused and very, I'm going to be, which that's great.
Yeah.
But I want to be even more thankful and be more thankful for where I am today, where my talent is today, where my business is today, where my relationships are today, where my family is today, where, you know, and just so, Merrick and I were talking today and we were like, 3 minutes every day, we should just make ourselves like think of things that we're thankful for. Because, you know, just getting your brain working on thinking about things you should be thankful for kind of takes you out of that, you know.
It really does.
And
I love that.
yeah,
It's a great
so
thing.
that's kind of something that, you know, I feel like I'm a fairly, you know, positive person, but I'm
I think
human.
so.
I screw up a lot, but
We all do.
I
You're
just want to
perfect.
really, I'm perfect to be your friend, and you're perfect to be my friend. I really want to, you know, be even more in the moment, I guess. I'm still obviously reaching for the moon, but being thankful for where this moment is today,
For sure.
where it is, because, and just think about the story that we're writing, you know.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And we didn't giggle the whole time.
No, you did not. Yay.
I should just title it, the first one, Meosha being the giggle episode.
We did
So if you
giggle a
didn't
lot.
see it, it's like a year ago. You can go back into the archives and
It
find it.
was-
It was fun.
It was really fun.
Yeah, I don't know why when you got on that time, because we were already friends, but for some reason I
guess
got
you were nervous.
I got really nervous because I'm like, oh my God, this filmmaker's here and I'm doing my vlog and she's like, you
So
have your
sweet.
TV show. So in the links below, I'm going to tell everybody where they can find you and check out your stuff and follow your YouTube channel. You've got some series out there. You've got like some shows and
Some things
some
are coming
stuff
out.
and some stuff's coming out. You do, what's the name of your the women?
Meosha, Women Talk with Meosha.
Women Talk to Meosha. I don't know why I couldn't think of that.
Yeah.
I was like, women, Meosha.
Meosha, Meosha.
Women Talk to Meosha.
Yeah.
So, and I was on your, there is an
was.
episode. So go find,
Check that
go
out.
find me over there. And
Watch
then
it.
look at all the other amazing episodes that she has. Where can they find you on social media?
Meosha Bean. I would just say Google that.
And it's everywhere.
Everything.
All right. So Google her. But I'll have links below as well.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys. So make sure that you follow me. I've decided that I need to up my social media game a bit. So go ahead and like follow me on stuff. Like stuff, comment, share, you know, that kind of thing. And subscribe. Subscribe to my YouTube because I'm cool. And I know I don't have a lot of views on my YouTube because I upload this directly to Facebook, and that's where most of my views are. But it's nice because YouTube is there, and it's always going to be there, and people can find it. So if they don't see it uploaded, then they can go back and find it. But anyway, so follow me, share, comment, and most importantly, have an amazing week.